we talking about practice. Not a game. We talking about practice.
Now, back to the After Practice Podcast with Lake Lewis.
Practice Podcast, and I've got a group of guys today, a group of gentlemen. They're distinguished. They've done a great job over the years, and more importantly, these guys are like family to me as part of the Sports Journey family and in their own endeavors. They're all successful men, guys that I look up to as well. So let's bring them on. You can tell in the camera we've got a DJ Bland, and DJ's kind of the newbie to the group, actually. DJ was one of the most recent guys that, started doing stuff with myself, and he's doing a really good job, covers the NHRA. If you're a racing guy, this is the guy. He does a great job with that. He was also on with me on USA Today, about.com. He's a great writer as well. Then we have my good friend, Rich Q Quinones, and Rich has done some great stuff in the world of sports radio. Also one of the top up and coming, in my opinion, boxing announcers as well. And we've worked together for a long time. He's part of the family as well. So welcome him on. Then we have my friend out in the West Coast, Mr. Jeff Little. And Jeff was actually one of the first talents at Sports Journey to come on, doing a great job covering. He's covered with us the Clippers, the Lakers, the Raiders. Does a great job holding it down for us out on the West Coast. Welcome, Jeff. And then, of course,
thank you.
This guy's like my brother, man, as well. Mr. Sergio Rodriguez. Sergio and myself, actually, Sports Journey started with us, and this guy was my co-host on ESPN Radio in Florida, also my co-host in Washington, D.C. on WMET. We did a great job, and still, when I watch him and what he's doing now, he's also one of the best coaches on the East Coast. Right before we came on, we actually heard him, signing one of his kids to a Division I scholarship. So what's up, Serge?
How you doing? How you feeling?
I'm good. Appreciate all you guys coming on. And as I said before, man, happy holidays. I know your families, and, hopefully you guys are getting ready to spend a lot of money and get some gifts for people.
Yeah, true.
Well, look, I'm going to put you guys on the spot because today on my podcast, I'm actually talking about a Mount Rushmore. I do this a lot when I do my remote broadcast. But today we're going to have some fun with you guys. You guys know your stuff. You guys are historians of what you cover as well. That's why I always consider you guys the best. So the Mount Rushmore is this, though. It's not your 4 greatest athletes of all time, because you could pick 4 guys from the same sport. But for the sake of today, we're going to cover the 4 major sports in the United States, which we all know: football, basketball, baseball, and hockey. So with that said, I need a figure from each sport. So you're going to have 4 guys on your Mount Rushmore, but 4 distinguished guys from 4 different sports. I have no problem telling you mine right now. I have Michael Jordan for basketball. I have Willie Mays for baseball, Tom Brady for football, and I have Wayne Gretzky from the NHL. So a lot of people will say, you got some old guys on there. Well, obviously we know eras. We're kind of biased to our era that we grew up seeing guys. I still think if you're a current player and you're still playing, your body of work is not finished. So maybe one day you can be on there. But for the sake of this show, no, you will not be on here. So if any of you yell out LeBron right now, I can't take it serious. I just can't. I mean, he's a great player, but his body of work is not complete, and he still needs a couple more chips if he wants to get past Mike. So
that's true.
With all that said, I'm going to go counterclockwise here. I'm going to start with Sergio at the bottom. Who's your Mount Rushmore, Serge?
Okay, but before we pick this, can I ask one question?
Sure.
Is it the best player to ever play in that sport, or is it someone who we felt was the most impactful in terms of influence, everything?
Great question. And I'm going to say both.
I think it's both.
Okay. Both. Yeah, both.
Okay. Well, listen, I think everybody's has to be Gretzky. I don't think there's anybody other than Gretzky in hockey. That's,
okay.
Maybe in the 80s you could have argued Gordie Howe. I don't think you could do that.
You probably Mario Lemieux was great too, but
look,
no, we're talking complete all around. It was Gretzky.
yeah, but
He
it's
won a lot,
Gretzky and then everybody else. Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Look, I would say in basketball, I have to put Jordan there, even though I've always been clear he's the second best player I've ever seen play. But when you factor in his game and his impact, he's got to be there.
Okay.
In baseball, again, although I don't think he's a top 5 historical player of all time, you have to put Babe Ruth.
Okay.
I thought Lou Gehrig was a better player.
Okay.
But you have to put Babe Ruth there on that list. And then in football, again, I know you could go with a lot of players. The best football player I have seen is Lawrence Taylor.
Okay, listen, I'm not going
to. And that comes from a Cowboy fan.
Well, listen, I'm not going to refute any of that. All those players are worthy. You didn't say anyone that makes any of us say, what is he talking about? So we're going to hold that. We're just going to see how this adds up towards the end. So next up, we're going to go Q. All right. So who do you have for your Mount Rushmore?
I'm going to go. So hockey, I think pretty much it's a foregone conclusion. Gretzky, you look at the goals record, you look what he was doing before the kid was 22, 23. You can throw the Lemieux and Jagers, but it's Gretzky. He changed the landscape of the NHL with multiple franchises, right? NBA, I'm kind of go a little contrarian with you guys. Lake knows I'm an NBA guy, man, historian. I love the game of hoops. But I'm thinking impact, how the game was changed. And I pulled up his stats again. Wilt Chamberlain, most dominant player. Obviously, I wasn't around for Wilt, but I think it's easy to say Jordan because we know what Jordan meant. Wilt Chamberlain, 50-plus points, 100 points in a game, the rebounds. They had to basically move the rules around, right, for the big man in the lane. Football, man, I would love to say LT, and I'm a Giants guy. For me, I go quarterback, man. And I'm a huge Brady guy, but growing up, the guy that used to rip my heart out was Montana. I think Joe Montana is one of the best pure passers I've ever seen. And again, we know the accolades, the records, Joe Cool. And then baseball, again, I kind of tend to side with Sergio, but I'm also going to go a different route. I'm acknowledging the legit home run king. And that's one, Hank Aaron. And to me, again, you're talking about impact, what he had to go through during that time before he basically took Al Downing deep. I think for the game of baseball, the way he did it, class, the power, the consistency, I'm going to go Henry Aaron.
Okay. All right. So before we get to DJ and then Jeff, just know after we all say that, we're going to have our chance to try to make some points valid. Okay. All right. So we're going to go DJ, your Mount Rushmore.
Oh, and football almost went cornerback, but I'm going to go quarterback as well. And my guy is Steve Young. I'm going to go Steve Young there. With basketball, you could go Jordan for sure, but I'm going to go Irvin Magic Johnson. I like the way he changed the game. Hockey is obviously Gretzky. You could throw a couple of guys in there, but I think Gretzky is the guy. And I'm with Q in baseball, Hank Aaron. It's no doubt.
Okay.
On mine.
All right. Okay. And then Jeff, I'm curious with this one because I know this is big time Lakers guy right here. Right, so, who you got?
Well, wow. It's tough. I'll start with basketball. And basketball, I gotta go. Wow. I gotta go Wilt Chamberlain, most dominant ever. Wow. I could throw so many in there, but I'm stick with Wilt for basketball.
Okay.
Even though I'm a huge MJ fan.
Okay.
Now, baseball, I'm a little bit different. Like everyone picked, like all the guys you guys picked, but I'm going Jackie Robinson, simply labeled on impact, production, but also major impact on the sport itself.
Okay.
Football, wow. Whew. I got to go LT, even though I want to go quarterback, because if I go quarterback, I got to go Tom Brady. But if you look at LT's impact on the game and how every offense had to change whatever they were doing, it's got to be LT. Okay. And he's also the same guy that we're comparing each and every edge rusher to every year, seeing if at some point in time down the road they can get to his level. Okay. It's not going to happen, but they're going to try. Okay. Now, hockey, definitely Wayne Gretzky. You're talking about a guy who revolutionized the game of hockey. There's no really way to go anywhere else. Okay. Gordie Howe close, but no, still Wayne Gretzky.
All right. So for the sake of ripping apart your Mount Rushmores, putting some, something to knock that concrete down, I'm gonna throw some names out there of people that we did not speak of that possibly could have been on there. What about a guy like Jerry Rice?
Yes. Yes.
No.
Definitely.
No,
But
Serge says no.
But he's quarterback dependent.
Okay.
So if he doesn't have a quarterback, what is Jerry Rice doing? If he's got somebody like a Rex Grossman, what exactly is he going to do? That's nothing.
Well, I could say that for your thing because the guy throwing him the football, he's on there because he had a guy like Jerry Rice.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Very true.
Consistency, body of work, body of work, the way the wide receiver position should be played.
Right.
Why do you say no, Serge? Because you said no.
Because I don't even think he was the greatest receiver of all time.
Well, we this going back to the show now, Jeff. He thinks it's Randy Moss. I already know.
100%.
Oh, wow.
I already know that. So
I can't argue. I can't argue stats, right? We can't argue stats. I'm just going off. So I have a theory that I use when I'm ranking players and what I do. Anyone that I watch play, I don't really care about stats. My eyes tell me this. Anybody before that, I go to stats and my father, right?
His
I
father,
watch
by the
Randy
way, has
Moss
Willie
play.
Mays, just so y'all know. I already know that.
My father says Willie Mays is the greatest player he ever saw. And then after Willie Mays again. But I will tell you that I felt Randy Moss is the best wide receiver I've seen.
Okay. And Q, when you look at your list, you mentioned Montana.
Yeah.
Montana was close for me. Like literally, when I was coming up with these images, I was like, Montana. I just think that you can't overlook the fact that Brady won a Super Bowl in his first year away from New England at 40. That to me is just like, I was always in the school of Joe Montana is better than Tom Brady. I was in the school of Steve Young. Body of work is less than Brady's, but in one game, if I had to have one guy, I may pick Steve Young over any quarterback because I know he can run too.
Thanks.
But when you look at the body of work, with Brady, I think that gives him the nod a little bit over Joe. I do.
Yeah, I think also you're adding in the fact he throws that pick to end his career in New England, goes to Tampa in that stadium, different offense at his advanced age. And what happens? They win a Super Bowl, 100%. I think Brady's, 1 and 2, man. That's why it's sports talk, bar talk. You're sitting there having a couple pops, and they're both remarkable quarterbacks. I just know Montana used to just rip the Giants' hearts out, and I also know the Giants got the better of Brady not once, but twice. Now we can argue semantics and how it was done. Brady is right there, man. And I'm starting to kick myself because I'm like, man, I didn't even mention, we'll do it another day, Jim Brown, but that's besides the point.
Well, that was my number 2. My number 2 was Brown. The only reason, and I'm going to say this, Sergio and me, we've had this conversation many times. As far as eras, when you mention a Babe Ruth or you mention a DiMaggio or a Gehrig, they're great players. No knocking that. They didn't play against Black players. They didn't play against Latin players, which are heavily dominant in Major League Baseball. Well, not Black players, but Latin players, definitely. So with that said, I don't put an asterisk next to their accomplishments, but you do have to look at it kind of like a little bit of a glass half full. And that was my reasoning for that. So if I'm going to say that, I've got to say that equally too for Jim Brown. I mean, he played in an era where guys weren't as fast, weren't as big, and he looked like a defensive lineman playing running back against these guys back then. That's not knocking him because I do, for the sake of this, guys, any of the guys you named, I know could translate into today's game and still do work. Okay. That's how you know they're good. So even Babe Ruth, I think, would hit today. May not round the bases the same, but he would hit today. Jeff, you had mentioned Lawrence Taylor as well. You talking about a guy that ripped the hearts out of people. He ripped the hearts out of Washington and broke the leg of their quarterback.
Never forget that play. Very ugly.
So I can't say Lawrence Taylor doesn't belong on this list. I think he's definitely there. Sergio, as a Cowboys fan, gave Lawrence Taylor the nod. I just asked this question. Was Lawrence Taylor, in your opinions, all of you, just a yay or nay, was he a better defensive player than Ray Lewis?
Yes.
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 By a long shot.
Yes.
Wow.
Joe Gibbs changed his whole offense
Yes.
around Lawrence
You
Taylor.
always have to value the pass rusher because he's more impactful.
Okay, so
Very true.
greatest pass rusher the game's seen.
Yes.
Yes.
They changed rules for Lawrence Taylor.
And I'll say
Yeah.
this too. He wasn't going up against bums at left tackle either.
Exactly.
He tormented in Washington. To me, Joe Jacoby should be in the Hall of Fame. Just
because of that.
Just because of his
Of course.
battles with Lawrence Taylor.
With what Lawrence Taylor did, that in my opinion increased the value of your left tackle because you had to have someone to get in front of this guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
So to me, he should have been in there. But Lawrence Taylor also played in the era of a Richard Dent. Know, there were great linemen in there. But yeah, Lawrence Taylor was feared.
And
Go ahead.
And think about this. Think about the sack numbers that Lawrence Taylor and the disruption that he was causing in a league that was a primary run first league. If you let him rush the passer now 39 times a game,
his sack number is unreal.
Scary.
He might get 10 in a game, so
that's possible.
And
yeah,
I add this. How many times did you ever see Lawrence Taylor get neutralized? Because Ray could get neutralized easily with a good linebacking core. If you got a solid tight end that can go out there and really block like a Gonzalez or something like that, Ray got neutralized. You ain't never see no LT get neutralized in any game.
It's hard for me to say Ray Lewis was neutralized, but I can say with my own eyes, I've never saw Lawrence Taylor neutralized ever.
True. Very true.
Ever. Okay, so maybe for the sake of this show, we might move Lawrence. So you guys are in agreement that Lawrence should be the face of the NFL?
I mean, I'm a diehard Giants fan.
I'm not going to go
I
that
watched
far.
them.
I'm not going to go that far because I think the thing that happens is when we start talking about then who he is off the field, we can't make that guy the face of the NFL. But
we're just talking about
sometimes you got to have a butthole. Yeah. You gotta have a butthole on your squad.
Listen, I was just talking about Ray.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm not going to bring that up, but that's the whole point. You guys mentioned Kobe. Rest his soul.
But you have to talk, if you're going to be fair, you have to also talk about
everybody's got something, man.
Yeah.
Mike had the gambling, people would say. Everybody has something. Somebody said, well, that's not a problem. Yeah, women. That's a whole nother story.
He was still able to go out and get his 50 a game.
That's right. So I just care about what he did on the field. And DJ and me are living in Commanders hell right now. And I've said this before, one of the nicest locker rooms I've ever been in, I've ever covered is this locker room. These guys are phenomenal young men, but I don't care. I need some guys that are jerks that are going out and scoring points on Sundays.
Give me a DJ Swearinger.
Yeah. So
Bill Parcells used to always say that you needed to have a certain number of guys on your team that you would never let date your daughter for a
yes.
Excellent point.
You need guys. You need guys that are going to control the locker room. You need guys that are going to control the locker room. Sergio,
Rich brought up a very interesting name.
Go ahead. I think Sergio.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
I said Rich brought up a very interesting name. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, you want me to go on a different system?
No, go ahead. Go ahead and talk.
No.
Okay, so Rich brought up his basketball player, which I thought was a very interesting one because I believe that I've always been higher on Wilt Chamberlain than a lot of other people.
Mm-hmm.
And what I always found interesting with Wilt Chamberlain is that the same people that will tell you that Wilt Chamberlain was a bully because he was a foot taller than everybody else that he played with are the same people that will put Bill Russell in their top 10. And every time they played against each other, Chamberlain dominated him too.
Yeah. And
I always found that weird, Rick.
And there was a stat. They played each other, I think, 150 something times over their career. So this wasn't like they played, 10 times. They played every other night because there was only like 10, 14 teams. They played a lot. And you're right. I mean, Wilt dropped some 50-pointers and had some 30 rebounder games against a guy that people want to say is the greatest. And I've always said this about Russell, phenomenal player. We all know that. But he did play with not 4 other Hall of Famers. He had 6 other Hall of Famers. He had 2 bench players that were in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
You're supposed to look good, man, when you play with better talent. So, all right.
True.
So one of the other things that, we have varying players on here, Ray Lewis and Lawrence Taylor. We talked about that. We talked about Wilt Chamberlain and his dominance. DJ and I think Q had Hank Aaron on there. Jeff had Jackie Robinson on there. So a lot of this stuff is just opinions, of course, but I don't think there's a gentleman that we've named that's not worthy to be on there. Just real quick, in about 30 seconds for each person. If you had to have a Mount Rushmore of just your 4 best athletes on there, you could pull in, boxing, tennis, track, whatever. Anybody want to take a quick stab at their 4? And I'll tell you who my 4 would be.
I'll go.
Okay.
Mike Tyson. I would go with my guy, 21, Sean Taylor. I would still go with Hank Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
And another boxing guy, Evander Holyfield.
Okay, so I'm just going to say this. None of those guys are not worthy. Sean Taylor had a short career. We understand why, unfortunately.
Yep.
But when we're talking about Mount Rushmore, they would have to be the face of the sport. I don't think you can put Sean on there. I don't think you can put Evander Holyfield on there either, just as far as faces of a sport.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying my guys are right, but I'm saying the guys that I would throw up, the people I would throw on there would be Muhammad Ali.
Absolutely.
As far as boxing.
Definitely.
Now that we talked about the Jim Browns and guys like that and the Montanas, I'm still going to put Brady on there, okay, just because of what he accomplished. I'm still going to put Mike on there. The other person that I think needs to get some real consideration is not in any of those sports and is a female. I think Serena has to legitimately be considered as a group in the world of sports as far as top 4 most influential people, because she's definitely galvanized tennis and made people, especially people of color, take notice and heed to watch it. I thought about Tiger Woods and what he was for golf, but we didn't see we probably didn't even see prime Tiger because of some of the other things that happened to derail that. So anyway,
now you're talking from an influential standpoint, right? So, it's funny when you have these kind of discussions, we tend to kind of keep moving the goalposts back. We want to adjust it a little bit to kind of fit, our narrative. And there's nothing wrong with that. But listen, Sugar Ray Robinson, Muhammad Ali, you can throw Serena, Tiger in his prime. Again, the body of work. We're talking about, again, what those athletes meant. Babe Ruth. Again, it's so subjective, right? We all have different criterias when we look at this. But for me, for being the boxing guy, it definitely has to be Muhammad Ali. I also look at what they meant to the sport at the end of the day, right? How they revolutionized the sport. Jackie Robinson, Roberto Clemente.
What about Jim Brown then, if we're going to do that?
You have to. I mean, you're talking about 18 running backs have won the MVP, and Jim Brown won it 3 times, right?
and he had 12-game seasons, 14-game seasons too. So
excellent point. Yes.
Serge, who do you have?
I think if I told you guys who the best player I've seen in every sport, we might differ on a couple of things. I will tell you a couple of guys that I thought were great. You mentioned running back, Rich. Listen, Eric Dickerson, to me, watching him, was just at a different level when he came into the league there. I'm going to tell you guys that I believe, although Montana and Brady would be 1, 2 in any ranking that I did, I believe the most The most talented quarterback I've seen is Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
I will also tell you that the best basketball player I've seen is Kobe Bryant, hands down. And I know that I have this argument with people a lot because it's always the Jordan thing. And a lot of people don't even put Kobe in the top 5, which is incredible to me. But
Yeah.
That's insane.
My thing with Jordan and Kobe has always been this. And Jeff, you'll probably attest to this being a Laker fan. They were both physically the same. Jordan did it in an era of the big men. Look at the guys that played against him at his position. Just look at the dream team. Look at the guards on the dream team. When Kobe was doing the same exact thing, he was doing it every night. Wade, Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady. It was he did it in the prime of the NBA's 2 and 3 guard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I can't debate that. And me personally, not to stray here, but it's funny that I can say this with Jeff being on, Mr. Laker himself. I've said this to all the young kids who talk about LeBron and how great LeBron is. And again, they think the older guys like myself, if you're over 40 or if you're over 50, they think we're hating. He's phenomenal. And for my money, he's on my Mount Rushmore, LeBron. But I say that with some trepidation because I could argue, and Jeff, you help me out as the Laker guy here. I could argue that LeBron might not be on the Lakers' top 4, period.
True.
That's with the championship.
Mm-hmm.
Am I making this up, Jeff?
No, you're spot on. But what it does, it comes into this, I call it this conundrum that we deal with. Because right now, obviously, LeBron's with the Lakers right now. You have this whole slew of fans, or literally LeBron fans. But what they fail to realize is that, I hate to say it because it's going to sound crazy, so work with me here. But Kobe Bryant is literally a god to Lakers fans. And what I mean by that is you saw this 17-year-old kid come to the Lakers and blossom, turn into not only a star, but a superstar, win 3 championships, then literally fall on his face with the whole issue in Colorado and have to literally build himself back up, and did that. You look at that and people are saying, oh, no matter what, LeBron's this, LeBron's that. However, it's like everybody's giving LeBron the fact that you're one of the greatest. You're on the Mount Rushmore. You're up there. You're with all the greats. Just because of the fact a lot of people are not saying that he is the greatest, they're having an issue with that. But at the end of the day, if you're amongst the greatest, you're really where you want to be. But to me, I look at it like this. We talked about LeBron, we're really talking about the guy's legacy more than anything else. And if he is still playing, which he is, we have to wait a little bit for this conversation because to me, a legacy conversation needs to be had when someone's career is over. His career is still going at this point.
That's what
But now where the conundrum comes in, you're telling me he's the greatest ever. Well, if he's the greatest ever, he shouldn't be losing 3 in a row to like the Spurs, the Bulls. I have to break. I can't separate you from saying you're the greatest ever, but it's okay you're in a 3-game losing streak. It's okay that you're scoring 30 plus points at 39 years of age, but you're still losing. Well, if we go to list the top teams in the West right now, who are they losing to? The top teams in the West right now just lost last night to Minnesota.
Yeah,
like, you turn the game with it down 8 points. Like what's going on here? What's that? That's the conundrum. Can I put him as the greatest, even though your team is as an average team at best right now?
Well, this is the thing, Jeff, and this is a conversation that I go back years ago, and off the air, folks, people were asking, we were talking, and the DJ asked the question to Serge and me: did we ever argue during our shows on ESPN?
Yes.
Well, I wouldn't call them arguments. We had debates. That's what we did. It was the way it was marketed was, what do you call a politically correct Washingtonian against an abrasive New Yorker? That's literally how they typed it on ESPN. Everybody knows who the abrasive person was. But anyway, the point is, we will go back and forth. And one of the times we did have a little heated one was, I'm from DC. We didn't have a baseball team at the time I was growing up, so we were Orioles fans. And Cal Ripken was the guy. And Sergio went to town on the fact that Cal Ripken, and he said it. He said, he's a compiler. I said, what is that? And he said, if you look at the last 8 years of his career, 7 years, still was a very good player, but his numbers kept compiling because he kept playing. And it makes those numbers look like they were entrenched in championship runs, and they weren't, because the Orioles stunk at the end of his career. I can say this, and this is what I try to tell some younger people about LeBron. Great player on my Mount Rushmore. If you want to say he's the second best player of all time, I can live with that. But those numbers are building. He's still great. Don't get me wrong. He's in shape. He's phenomenal for what he's doing. But those numbers are building and building and building, and they're building at an irrelevant rate as far as his team winning.
True.
And I think you have to take that stuff into consideration. And that's why I had said what I said about Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Because he goes to Tampa and at 40 wins the Super Bowl. New coach, new system, new everything.
But remember now, Joe Montana also went to Kansas City and went to an AFC championship. The narrative changes if they got over the hump with some of those teams. But real quick, can we stop with the Jordan and LeBron comparisons? Because if we go quarterback for quarterback, why can't it be LeBron and Magic Johnson? Because they're the same type of player per se.
Yes.
If that makes sense. If and we go back to the top Lakers, Jerry West, Kobe, Wilt, Elgin Bear, Kareem.
We left Kareem off
again.
the list
Had
too.
the most lethal weapon in all of sports, right? Even though he went from the Bucks to the Lakers. So I just think that's a narrative people push. And Jeff is 100% correct. And Sergio is also 100% correct, because Jeff brought up the point, if you keep losing, does it tarnish? Not so much. But if we're going to stick you on Mount Rushmore, you shouldn't be losing in an inferior conference. And to Sergio's point, when you talk about the compiler, I'm sorry, and I've interviewed him and I like him, but I call it the Warren Moon conundrum, where you hang on and you keep stockpiling stats, and now you're 35 to 40,000 yards, get you to 50,000, and you're more inclined to get a shot in the Hall of Fame. I think Cal Ripken Jr. might be one of the most overrated players in the history of baseball. Hall of Famer.
He sounds like Serge right now.
Talk to him.
Hall of Famer, but over. Hey, I'm a Yankees fan, and I can say the same thing about Derek Jeter. Hell of a player, hell of a shortstop.
Too.
Hey, I'm sorry. I mean, we can do that another day, but yeah, the compiler stuff, and that's where LeBron is headed right now. Boom, 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 boom.
Okay.
Completely agree. Now,
100%.
Listen, this is crazy because you guys are saying the same thing. and I respect all four of you as far as your knowledge. So this isn't coming out of my mouth. So before you get them emails coming to me, make sure you spread the love all the way around this board right here. So all right. So look,
it's all my fault.
Right. We're gonna switch sports here. You know, this is obviously what I've transitioned to as far as NFL. I want to do this because, like I said, I've struggled a little bit over the last 2 weeks with my foreshore predictions. I was telling my girl I might have to start calling it 4 onshore predictions because I've been getting them wrong. But I will say this: what I've done is I've tried to pick 4 tough games. So it's not like gimme games. I'm not doing that. So I'm picking 4 tough games, and it just so happens to be that the 4 of you and teams that you cover and love, I will be able to now put the pressure on you and just sit back and see what your predictions are going to be. So we're going to start with this. I'm going to put DJ on the spot. You're basically taking my pick because you did cover Washington for a while. So I'm going to put you on the spot. They travel to New York against the Jets, and people are saying, oh, they're playing the lowly Jets. These are the type of wins that you're supposed to have. Teams say that about Washington. Make sure we understand that. Washington's the get-right team, not they get right off other teams. So I'm going to put you on the spot. No Aaron Rodgers. So what do you have for this weekend, DJ?
First of all, I'm going to pull out of my bag of Sergio Rodriguez here. And when you look at the line, the line says that Washington is a 3-point favorite. I'll take them 3 points. And I'll take the Jets. Why? Because we constantly see week after week after week wide receivers leaking behind the secondary, standing out in no man's land with nobody within 25 yards, and they walk into the end zone. Okay. Sam Howell's back in here. That offense is still not looking good. The offensive line is basically, most of them are the lookout gang.
Okay.
So we're not running the football. Look, Zach Wilson's going to have a very good day. I see them not only being able to cover that minus, but they'll likely win by 10. And I think it's probably a 30 to 20 ball game. And what's going to happen is late, Washington's going to get some garbage points. But that defense of the Jets, it's going to be much of what we've seen from this offense the last couple of weeks.
All right. So each guy gets a minute. So don't get too hyped up. But we gotta keep this in there. I agree with you. I think the Jets win the game, but I don't think any of those teams are going to score 30 points. They might have scored 30 together. So that's the only thing different. All right, so let's toss it around here. We'll go with Q next. All right, so what do you have?
Giants and the Eagles. So It's been a house of horrors for the Giants for the past decade, plus haven't won in Philly since 2013. So my 4 guaranteed, if you will. Bradbury, who's been cooked of late, gave up about $150 against Seattle. He will have a pick and a little retribution in this game. Saquon Barkley goes over 100 yards. He probably breaks a couple 25-plus yarders here and there. Birds are giving up about 4.6 yards a carry. The Eagles defense will sack DeVito 5+ times. Cutlass, Sicilian Sicilian, the passing Paisano, it doesn't matter. And then my last one is, I'm probably going to be annoyed a quarter in when they keep panning over the head coach, Nick Sirianni. Can I use that as a lock, my annoyance level?
Really hates that.
Look ahead line was about 14.5. It's sitting right around 13. I think the Giants keep the game somewhat close, but this is the perfect recipe for an Eagles team where we're killing them in my backyard, losing 3 straight from 10-1 to 10-4. This is the get right game. I think Hurts bounces back. I'll say Jalen Hurts has 3 touchdown passes in here, but the Giants still keep it close, but they lose by 10.
All right. Good call there. All right. Next up, Serge, you got your Cowboys, Dolphins. That to me is the second best game of the week, period. I think the number one game has to be the Ravens at San Francisco. That I got to see that.
Yes.
The Cowboys, Dolphins is huge. 2 10-4 teams. One team has to win to show that they can beat a good quality team. Serge, what do you have?
Well, that's the thing. Miami hasn't beaten a team with a winning record since September of 22, right? So do you expect them to beat the Cowboys? Obviously not. But here's the problem. The Cowboys are terrible away from home. Terrible away from home. And even worse on grass. Speed game becomes a factor for them, and they tend to struggle. Something very interesting that I did bring up to DJ when I had him on the show earlier this week, just to show you how Las Vegas is king in football. Buffalo was a 3-point favorite last week as a 500 team versus the Cowboys, essentially. The Dolphins, as a 10-win team, are only a 1-point favorite a week later. I will tell you, the Cowboys find the way to win this game because Miami gives up 40 to every team that has a decent offense. But I won't think that this is going to definitely happen because the Cowboys, they find a way to cowboy.
But no. It's got to happen because this is for sure. You guys are picking for me this week. So Q went out.
Oh, no.
He said it. Okay, so you got your Cowboys.
My point is the Cowboys are going to win, but it's not like I wouldn't go out and put 3,000 on it.
Hedging the bet.
All right, so DJ says the Jets. Serge says the Cowboys. Q
Big game for CD Lamb for all you
Jalen Ramsey, CD Lamb. That's much CTV right there, too. Yeah. Jalen Ramsey's playing well. All right, so Jeff, you're up. And you've covered the Raiders. That's your squad as well. They play the Chiefs. The Chiefs are kind of the team people are forgetting. They still are Super Bowl champs. They still have Patrick Mahomes, but those receivers stink. So
it's true.
What's going on?
Except when it comes to us. except when it comes to us. When it comes to us, all of a sudden everything's great for them. Now, obviously, bad season. Last week, all of us Raider fans had the heyday of dropping 63 points on a division rival being the Chargers, something that more points than the team has ever scored. But we've lost to Kansas City, I think beat them once in the last 5 years. Okay. They're favored by 10. Last time the Raiders and the Chiefs played, the Raiders lost, I think it was 31-17. The best game that rookie Aiden Connell has played. but still they're favored to lose by 10. I think that's still going to happen. I think it might be closer, but there's something about when you wake up the bad man himself and Pat Mahomes. I don't see the Raiders winning this game, but I think that there's a chance. I just can't pick them as an upset win at this point. I still have the Chiefs win this game. It's going to be closer, in my opinion. I'm looking at maybe 31-20, but the average 30 points are better against the Raiders. Even though we have the issues with the wide receivers, they still have never been able to hold Travis Kelce down. Wow. I just don't see him winning. If I had to pick a score right now, my heart as a Raider fan tells me we're going to do it. This is going to be the time we break this 6-game losing streak. My reality side says, you know what? They're going to lose this game by at least 10. I'm looking at 31-21.
All right. So those are the 4 short predictions for this week.
Yeah.
And if
Hope I'm wrong.
I mean, honestly, if you put me on the spot and I had to pick those 4 games, I definitely would pick Kansas City over the Raiders. I would pick the Eagles over the Giants, and close games. They're divisional games. You throw out records when that happens, and especially when the other team, the favorites are a little under some turmoil. They're playing a little tight. That gives the other team a chance to play with house money. Okay. DJ, I definitely think the Jets are the better team. I think their defense is really good, and that's going to give Washington some problems. The only game that I'm not sure of is the Dolphins and the Cowboys. If you ask me today, see, I did something I never do. I picked the Cowboys to beat Buffalo, and they went up there. And I even prefaced it before I made the prediction. The Cowboys are incredible at home. They were 7-0.
All you got to do is listen to my show.
Absolutely. They were 7-0, 7-0 going into that game. But on the road, they hadn't done anything. And I just felt like the win over the Eagles was enough to tell them, you know what, we're a really good football team. But I forgot where it was. It was in Dallas. I think the Dolphins, in my opinion, I think they need this game more so than the Cowboys do.
Oh, yeah, the Cowboys are playing for the 5th. The Cowboys are the 5th seed. It doesn't matter.
But they're also playing for the NFC East.
They're playing. The Cowboys have a chance to get that NFC East.
Rich, you really think that the Eagles are not going to run the table? They got the Giants twice. Come on.
It means absolutely nothing. They also have Arizona.
I know,
Arizona beat Dallas earlier in the season.
Yeah,
what are we talking about?
I'm in agreement. I'm in agreement with you on this. I'm
telling you, the Eagles right now
are fragile.
Not. But see, you're looking at it from the eyeballs and eyelids of a Cowboys fan. The Eagles are not playing good football right now.
No, I don't think the Eagles are any good. I think Dallas is a better team than Philadelphia.
That may be the case, but I'm saying this is an important game for Dallas, and it's an important game for Eagles because there's a lot at stake winning the division and getting the better seed and perhaps getting home field advantage. That's what's at stake right now.
See, I know what's at stake. I just don't believe the Cowboys are going to go. I just don't believe the Eagles, I should say, are going to lose any one of the 3, especially having the Giants twice.
So with that being said, it's definitely a more important game for the Dolphins because I don't know if I can see the Dolphins coming into Baltimore in January and beating Baltimore. I just don't see it. I don't. I know Baltimore, even though they're one of the best teams, and I'm telling you right now, my Super Bowl prediction is looking like it can come true. Beginning of the year, I said Baltimore and San Francisco, and it could very well come true. I still think the Cowboys have something to be said in the NFC East. I mean, in the NFC. If there's one team, only one team that has a prayer to beat San Francisco in San Francisco, I mean, you could probably even throw a Detroit in there because they haven't seen them. But I would say between Philadelphia and Dallas, it's got to be Philly. But the only way Dallas is going to get there, they've got to have a home playoff game. They have to. So
they need every one of them be at home.
They have to. Dallas has to run the table too. If they run the table and the Ravens beat the 49ers, it still goes to the 49ers if I'm not mistaken because they beat Dallas head-to-head.
And you look at conference record.
Right, you do. But if Dallas can win the NFC East, it makes the path a lot easier. Trust me. You don't want to be the 5th seed and have to go. If the 5th seed started today, who do the Cowboys have?
They have to go play Tampa.
They beat Tampa. They beat Tampa. I'm not worried.
The Cowboys train wreck people at home, but there's one I believe, this is just me, I believe the only team that's tailor-made to go on the road and beat San Francisco, and I believe the 49ers broke the Philadelphia Eagles. If they could figure out a way, I would trust the Eagles going on the road against San Francisco. I can't trust Detroit because of their defense. They're going to have to put up 50-something. It's a bad matchup. And Dallas, I just have to look at the track record
against San Francisco, especially.
And to your point, prove me otherwise different. Like, I saw it before with the Eagles. I've seen what this team was able to do, and they caught a break last year, no doubt. But that's the only team matchup wise. San Fran, they're so good, man.
So we have 8 minutes left. Listen, I don't get you guys on often, especially not like this. I've never done this, so it's not too often you get 4 of the best to do this with you. So just want to throw out a couple of other things. This will be a little bit more rapid fire. So just, give me your answer without a lot of the synopsis with it. But 49ers, Ravens, Monday night. Serge, who you got?
I like the 49ers because, to me, the Ravens are a bunch of frauds. If you get them down 7-0, game's over. So, to me, the 49ers will get the kickoff. They'll go down. They'll go up 7-0.
And then the game's
Game over. We'll start seeing Lamar Jackson run around and throw for his wonderful 132 yards.
All right, DJ, who you got?
49ers. They are punchers. They're guys that are going to slug it out. They're gritty. I definitely take the 49ers.
All right, Jeff?
I'm taking the 49ers. Even though I love Baltimore, and it's ironic that you picked that in terms of the possible Super Bowl, because I kind of looked and saw that was a strong possibility. I still think it is. It's just that 49ers are home, tough to beat them.
All right, Q.
I feel like you guys are all Chris Berman. You're all on the 49ers. Yeah, you have to be. They're just so balanced of attack. If you make Baltimore one-dimensional, remember, too, they've got issues and injuries with their backs. 49ers are too complete, and they're so physical. I like the 49ers at home.
All right. I think we all in we can't say quattro. I mean, I know that's 5, but as far as there's 6 of us, I mean, as far as
5.
Yeah, 5 of us. I'm looking at myself twice here. 5 of us. So yeah, so we're all 5. We agree with that. So another thing that I want to throw out there, since we're talking 49ers, talking Ravens, listen, the MVP race could come down to those 3 players on the field on Monday night. You have McCaffrey, you have Purdy, you have Lamar Jackson. Are you guys in alignment and maybe thinking that McCaffrey and Purdy are kind of going to take votes from each other to open the door for Lamar?
It's possible. It's possible. If I had to pick an MVP right now, all 3 are in the conversation. Wow, but that's an excellent point. One will take votes away from the other, but if I had to pick a guy right now, it would be Christian McCaffrey.
Okay, all right. Anybody
I'm telling you right now, it doesn't matter about either one of those two. The league's going to go with a quarterback, and Brock Purdy is going to be that guy. It's the story. It's all about the story, ladies and gentlemen, and what a story that would be of Mr. Irrelevant doing his job, which he has done all season long. And he's going to come in here, and if he takes this team where it needs to go, he gets the MVP hands down. No questions asked. Lamar's out.
All right. Q?
Yeah, I tend to side with the guys, man. I mean, I thought DJ brought up a real good point, right? It's all about the story, Mr. Irrelevant. He's playing well. I think they had one co-MVP the last 20 years. I think it was Barry Sanders and Brett Favre. The kid's playing lights out, but the running back is a great running back. Chicken or the egg. You take the running back off, how do they do? You take the quarterback off, how do they do? I think it's Purdy. I think he earned it. I think Hurts, Prescott, and Lamar Jackson played themselves out of it. So, yeah, I'm going to stick with Purdy.
All right, Serge.
It pains me to say this because, my nickname for him is Empty Calorie. But I think Dak Prescott's going to win. Okay. I just believe that, to be fair to him, because I'm very hard on him. I'm not one of these guys, one of these Cowboys. As you can tell by me, I'm one of these Cowboy fans that hates the Cowboys. I will tell you that he's been the best player on the most marketable team for the last 10 weeks. And although they obviously didn't play well last week, I don't think anybody's going to blame Dak Prescott because I just believe that the team on the road is what it is, and he still does his job statistically. He's played well. I just don't think they're going to be able to take it from him. And if he happens to win this week, forget about it.
Well, I'll say this. I think if Lamar goes to San Francisco and the Ravens somehow win the game, we all know it's going to be because of him. That's going to change the narratives really quick because I think we all know that they're not giving Tyreek Hill the MVP. They're just not. And he's had a phenomenal year. If he goes over 2,000, it's great, but Calvin Johnson didn't win it when he went over, or when he was close to it. So I just think the league is marketed by quarterbacks. It's driven that way. I think they want Brock Purdy to be the story to win it. I do believe that. But I think Dak and I do think Lamar still have something to be said. They still have some football left, and it could be very, very important as far as the outcomes of this weekend's game. So, fellas, listen, man, this was fun. I kept you on a lot longer than I anticipated, but it's just not often you get this happening, and we got some great stuff coming up, man. Some great games coming up. We didn't even talk about the college football playoffs. Quick, one word answer. Who's national champion, Q?
Oh, I don't care anymore. How about that? I'm being honest. I hate the way everything transpired. I'm sorry.
You thought Florida State should have been in, right?
What's that?
You thought Florida State should have been in?
I think they got screwed, but no one wants to hear that.
Of course they did. That was terrible. But hey, Sergio got hurt tomorrow, and I couldn't bring him on today. Is it fair to say that the show's not any good because Sergio?
Yes, you're right. It wouldn't be any good.
Who you got winning the national championship, sir?
By the way,
never mind. I already know.
The best team in college football is Georgia.
He's going Michigan. I already know that.
Ooh.
Jeff, no Pac-10 love, man. I mean,
nobody's
saying Washington.
Since the Pac-10 is no longer, I look at it this way. It's going to be, I think that somehow, even though Florida State was screwed over, no doubt about it, but even if Florida State did make it in, they would have got a train wreck if they made it in. I mean, because you're looking at whoever would be at quarterback would have made much of a difference. But as far as winning it all, we got two solid matchups, but I still got Alabama winning. I really do. It just, to me, it's an interesting situation because I like what Washington's done all year. They've been able to spin it, throw the ball, but wow. I don't know if they can match up with Texas, though. I don't know if they can match up with the physicality there, but two tough games.
All right. I ask you, so DJ, who do you have?
Georgia.
No. Same here, man. I agree. Best team in the country.
The thing of it is,
they got screwed over.
The thing of it is this. If Alabama was number one, are they dropping all the way to 6? That answer is no.
And especially as a two-time defending champion.
Thank you.
Yeah,
so we're talking about the best teams, which I've heard people say the best teams. Well, you know what? If you want to say that Bama would have been 3 because they won the SEC, sure. But Georgia should have been 4. Since they're not in there, I think Michigan has an absolute chance to win. And the reason why I say this is because they play NFL-style football. The question is, defensively, what are they going to do to Monroe? If they can do what most teams done this year, is force him to be zippity-doo-dah, run it all over the place kind of guy and make mistakes, because it's not that hard to do.
Okay.
I think they win this thing because they do have a complete team on both sides of the ball.
All right, so we have less than a minute, so I'm gonna sign out now, fellas. Listen, appreciate you guys coming on. As I said before, you guys are more than colleagues. You guys are family to me. I got my 4 brothers on here, so definitely appreciate you coming on and have a great holiday with your families. Tell all of them I said hi, and we gotta do this again real soon, man. This was good. This was real good.
Soon.
Appreciate you guys. Be well.
All right, you guys take care. And I'll be
definitely be well.
All right, take care.
See you guys.